There's a voice inside your head, you know the one. The voice that plays every conversation back, frame by frame, wondering what you should have said instead. The voice that wakes you up at 2:37 a.m. to remind you of the one thing you forgot to do. The voice that won't stop running scenarios. What if they're mad? What if you mess this up? What if something goes wrong? People call it overthinking. But let's be honest, that word feels dismissive. Too small, too cute, too neat. Because this voice isn't just annoying, it's loud, it's relentless. And sometimes it drowns out everything else. But what if I told you? That voice isn't you. It's not your truth. It's not your intuition. It's not even your anxiety, really. It's fear, dressed up in your voice, sitting in the control room, trying desperately to keep you safe. See, here's the truth. Overthinking isn't a personality flaw. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not too much. It's survival. It's your brain doing what it learned to do: plan, rehearse, over-prepare. Because once upon a time, you had to be ready for anything. Maybe no one told you that. Maybe you just grew up thinking your brain was wired wrong, too loud, too busy, too intense. But it wasn't wrong. It was brilliant. It was protecting you. Because what happens when you grow up in chaos? When the people you trusted were unpredictable? When the rules kept changing? When safe meant staying alert? Your brain adapted. It learned how to scan for danger, how to anticipate moods, how to read between every line of every conversation, how to stay ahead just in case. That wasn't overthinking. That was survival mode. And guess what? You got really good at it, but here's the cost. Now that you're no longer in those unsafe places, your brain hasn't caught up. It's still on high alert, still running simulations, still trying to protect you, even when there's nothing to run from. So you get caught in loops. Mental spirals, endless doubt. Should I text them back? Did I sound weird? What if they misunderstood me? You're not indecisive. You're scanning for threat. Because somewhere deep down, your nervous system is still whispering, let's not get hurt again, okay? Here's what no one tells you. That voice in your head, it's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to save it. It's trying to keep you from being embarrassed, rejected, abandoned, wrong. Even when it sounds harsh, it thinks it's helping. That's why it's so persistent. That's why it interrupts your peace. Because it doesn't trust peace yet. Peace feels unfamiliar, unpredictable. And if your body associates unpredictability with pain, it will fight even the good things. So how do you move forward? How do you quiet the noise? You don't fight the voice. You befriend it. You say, hey, I see you. I know you're trying to protect me, but I'm not in danger right now. You don't have to work so hard. I've got us. You speak to yourself with the gentleness no one ever spoke to you with when you needed it most. You become your own safe place, and you stop apologizing for the way you survived. You stop calling it overthinking like it was some silly habit you should have grown out of. You start honoring it as the strategy that got you through hell. You thank your brain for trying so hard to keep you safe, even when it doesn't always get it right. And then, gently, consistently, you teach it that it's okay to relax, that not every silence means abandonment, that not every delay means rejection, that not every change means danger. You teach it what peace actually feels like. It won't happen overnight. You'll still spiral sometimes. You'll still second-guess yourself. You'll still have days when fear wears your voice and shouts over everything else. That's okay. Healing isn't perfection, it's repetition. Again and again, you come back to yourself. You remind yourself, I am not the fear. I am the one witnessing it. I am not the voice in my head. I am the space that holds it. I am not broken. I am healing. So, the next time someone says you overthink too much, you can smile softly and think, no, I survived too hard. I feel too deeply. I care too much. And that's never been a weakness. It's proof that you are still here, still fighting, still listening, still trying to make sense of a world that hasn't always been kind to you. But you're learning to be kind to yourself. And that's where everything changes. Anxiety doesn't show up out of nowhere. It has a story, a history, a memory that lives inside your body long after the moment has passed. That pounding heart, that restless mind, that sense of impending doom over something as simple as sending an email or walking into a room. That's not irrational. That's not you being dramatic. That's your nervous system remembering something you've tried so hard to forget. You see, the mind is a pattern-making machine. Its job is to notice, record, and prepare. So, when something painful happens, rejection, betrayal, abandonment, humiliation, your mind doesn't just feel it, it memorizes it, and it stores it under a file labeled, "Let's never feel that again." So next time anything even remotely similar happens, your mind panics. It floods you with adrenaline. It sounds the alarms. Even if you're not in danger anymore, your brain doesn't know that. It only knows, this feels familiar. And familiar for many of us means unsafe. That's anxiety. Not a malfunction, not a failure of your character, not something to be ashamed of. Just a mind trying to protect you from a past it hasn't fully processed. Let's go deeper. Have you ever felt panicked in a situation that didn't seem bad on the outside? Like a friend not texting back, someone raising their tone, being asked, "Can we talk?" And suddenly your stomach drops, your hands get cold. You're spiraling, thinking of every worst-case scenario possible. But here's the thing. The situation isn't the problem. It's a trigger, a match hitting old gasoline. Your mind isn't reacting to this moment. It's reacting to what this moment reminds you of. Maybe no one ever explained it like that. Maybe you've spent years calling yourself too sensitive, years apologizing for overreacting, years beating yourself up for not being more chill. But what if it was never about sensitivity? What if your brain just learned that danger often comes dressed as normal, that things go bad fast without warning? And so now your mind overprepares. It braces, it analyzes, it creates 1,000 plans for 1,000 possible pains. Not because you're weak, but because somewhere in your history, that over-preparation was necessary. So let's rewrite the narrative. Anxiety isn't something to be fixed. It's something to be understood. It's not the enemy. It's a messenger. One that's saying, "Hey, I still don't feel safe here. Can we pause and check in? Is this really a threat, or is it just familiar? Can we respond instead of react this time?" When you treat your anxiety like an intruder, you turn yourself into a battleground. But when you treat it like an ally, you turn yourself into a sanctuary. Here's the hard truth. You cannot heal anxiety by shaming yourself out of it. You cannot logic your way out of a wound that was never logical to begin with. But you can hold space for it. You can sit with it like a scared child and whisper, "I see you. I know you're scared. But this moment is not the past. You are not trapped anymore. You are safe now. And I'm not leaving you." That's how healing begins, not by never feeling anxious again, but by meeting anxiety with presence instead of panic, by offering yourself the calm you never received when you needed it most, by slowly, gently, patiently teaching your brain that this time is different. You're not in survival anymore. You're in rebuilding, and rebuilding takes time. It takes grace. It takes unlearning, but you are doing it. Every time you pause instead of spiraling, you're healing. Every time you breathe through the noise, you're healing. Every time you speak to yourself with kindness instead of criticism, you're healing. That's what progress looks like. Not perfection, but presence. So, the next time anxiety knocks, try this. Don't slam the door. Open it. Sit with it. Ask it what memory it's protecting. Ask it what part of you still feels scared. Ask it what it needs to feel safe. And then give that to yourself. Because anxiety doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means your mind is still trying to protect a version of you that once felt helpless. But that version of you isn't alone anymore. You're here now. And that changes everything. You don't need fixing, you need rest. Not the kind of rest that comes from sleeping 8 hours. Not the kind of rest that comes from a weekend off. I mean deep rest. The kind that says, you are safe now. You don't have to hold everything together anymore. You can breathe. Because, let's be honest, you haven't just been tired lately. You've been exhausted, bone deep, emotionally raw, mentally heavy. And yet, you keep going. You show up, you smile, you reply with, "I'm good, just tired." But the truth is, you're beyond tired. You're fried. And no, it's not because you're weak. It's not because you're bad at coping. It's because your nervous system has been in survival mode for far too long. Let's talk about that. Your nervous system is like the command center of your body. It decides when to speed things up, when to slow things down, when to fight, flee, or freeze. It's designed to keep you alive, and it does a beautiful job of it. But here's the thing. It was never designed to stay in fight or flight mode every single day. And yet, that's what so many of us are doing. Think about it. When's the last time you truly felt safe? Not just not in danger, but safe. Like you could let your shoulders drop, like you didn't have to be on, like you didn't have to anticipate the next fire to put out. For most people in chronic anxiety, burnout, or hypervigilance, the answer is, I don't remember. Because when you've spent years surviving, navigating chaos, dodging emotional landmines, staying ahead of everyone's needs, your nervous system doesn't know how to power down. It's always watching, always scanning, always bracing. And eventually, it breaks down. Not because it's defective, but because it's exhausted. Here's how that shows up. You forget things you just read. You can't focus for more than a few minutes. Small tasks feel overwhelming. You snap at people you love and then feel guilty. You struggle to sleep, even when you're bone tired. You feel numb like you're watching your life, not living it. These aren't personality quirks. These are signs of a dysregulated nervous system that has forgotten what calm feels like. And you didn't choose this. Your body adapted to the environment it was handed. Maybe you had to be the responsible one growing up. Maybe you learned early that crying got you nowhere. Maybe you lived in constant uncertainty, so your body said, let's stay ready, always. And that strategy? It worked. It helped you survive. But now, it's burning you out because you're still running on emergency mode in a life that doesn't need it anymore. Your body is tired of flinching, tired of scanning, tired of preparing for pain that never comes. So, no, your nervous system isn't broken. It's doing its job too well. It's been too alert for too long. And what it needs now isn't more hustle, isn't more discipline, isn't toughening up. What it needs is safety. And yes, I know safety might feel unfamiliar, even boring. Sometimes when you've only known stress, peace can feel like something's wrong. You'll want to fill the silence. You'll want to move. You'll want to do something. That's okay. It just means your body is learning a new normal. So how do you start? Not by pushing, not by forcing yourself to relax harder, but by sending signals, small ones, to your nervous system that say, it's okay now, you're not in danger. That might look like taking a walk without your phone, placing a hand on your chest and breathing deep for 30 seconds, listening to your favorite calming playlist, drinking water slowly and noticing the sensation, hugging someone you trust long enough for your shoulders to soften, doing nothing on purpose without guilt. These aren't just feel-good moments. They're retraining your body, teaching it that calm isn't dangerous, that stillness doesn't mean neglect, that safety is real and available. This is the slow work, the quiet work, the kind of healing that happens beneath the surface. But with every deep breath, every gentle pause, every decision to stop hustling for your worth, you are rebuilding. You are teaching your nervous system. You don't have to be scared anymore. We made it out. It's okay to rest. You've carried so much for so long, and you did it without breaking, but you don't have to carry it all anymore. This isn't giving up. It's coming home. You're allowed to rest, not because you finished the list, not because you earned it, but because you are a human being who deserves to feel safe in their own body. And if no one told you that before, let this be the moment. You're not broken. You're just tired. And now, you get to rest. There's a reason your mind replays conversations like broken records, a reason you double, triple, quadruple, check your words before sending a message, a reason you can't stop thinking 5 steps ahead in every situation. It's not because you're crazy. It's not because you're dramatic. It's not because you don't trust yourself. It's because once upon a time, overanalyzing everything was the only way you survived. Let's be honest, some of us didn't grow up in safe, predictable environments. Some of us learned early that moods could shift in an instant, that love could be withdrawn as punishment, that everything's fine often meant a storm was brewing. So, we adapted. We started noticing everything: tone of voice, subtle changes in facial expression, timing of replies, unspoken tension in the room. We became emotional detectives, always looking for signs, clues, danger. And the thing is, we got really good at it. Over time, this vigilance became our default. We didn't just think, we analyzed, we prepared, prepped, and played out every possible scenario in our heads. Why? Because guessing wrong once meant getting hurt. So we stopped leaving things to chance. We planned for the pain before it happened. We scanned for every red flag, even in green fields. That's not overthinking. That's self-protection on overdrive. But here's the problem. Now that we're in new environments, with safer people, with calmer circumstances, our brains are still acting like we're at war, still bracing, still interpreting silence as rejection, still dissecting every text like it's a secret code. Because to your nervous system, predicting pain feels safer than being surprised by it. Even when the threat is gone, the habit of protecting yourself remains. This is why healing is so damn confusing. You know you're safe. You know the person in front of you isn't like the people from your past. You know you don't need to analyze every little thing, and yet you still do, and then you judge yourself for it. Why can't I just relax? Why do I always ruin good things? Why can't I stop spiraling? But here's the truth. You're not ruining anything. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're just a human being whose survival required precision. And now, your brain is trying to unlearn something it once thought was life-saving. That takes time. That takes gentleness. That takes grace. So, let's reframe. What if overanalyzing isn't a flaw, but a superpower that's just been misdirected? What if your ability to read between the lines means you're deeply attuned to energy, nuance, intention? What if your deep thinking isn't the problem, but the burnout from using it to stay alive is? You're not thinking too much. You're feeling too much, and your mind is trying to make sense of emotions you were never taught how to name. And it makes sense, doesn't it? No one handed you a manual for emotional safety. No one said, hey, here's how to feel sad without spiraling. No one taught you how to say, this hurts, without fear of being mocked, shamed, or ignored. So, your brain filled in the blanks, with guesses, with analysis, with loops, and it worked. You made it. You survived. But now it's time to teach your brain something new. Not by forcing it to chill out, not by yelling, stop overthinking at your own thoughts, but by gently, consistently saying, you don't have to scan for danger anymore. You don't have to decode silence into catastrophe. You don't have to run simulations to feel in control. You can simply be here, in this moment, with your feet on the floor, with your breath in your lungs, with your heart beating steady. Will it feel strange? Yes. Will your brain fight it? Absolutely. Will you want to go back to the comfort of over-preparing? Definitely. But that's okay. Every time you resist the urge to overanalyze, you're reprogramming your survival instincts. You're teaching your system that unpredictability isn't always danger, that not knowing the outcome doesn't mean it will be bad, that you don't need to prepare for pain in order to be worthy of peace. This work is sacred. You are not unlearning bad habits. You are releasing strategies that once kept you safe, but now keep you stuck. That's powerful. That's brave. That's healing. So, the next time your brain starts spiraling, take a breath. Put your hand on your heart and say, I know why you're doing this. Thank you for keeping me safe. But we're okay now. You can rest. Because overanalyzing helped you survive the past. But presence will help you live the future. And you, my friend, are allowed to move forward. You call it strength. They call it admirable. They say, wow, you do it all, like it's a compliment. But behind the applause, behind the self-sufficiency, behind the smile that says, I've got it handled, is a quiet, exhausted voice whispering, I had to learn to survive alone. You weren't born hyper-independent. You became that way, piece by piece, moment by moment, let down after let down. You asked for help once, and no one showed up. You leaned on someone, and they disappeared. You needed comfort, and you got silence. So your heart did what it had to do. It built walls. It built systems. It built a life where no one else could drop the ball because you stopped passing it. Now, you're the reliable one, the strong one, the one everyone calls when they need something. But who do you call? Who sees your mess? Who holds you when you break? If the answer is no one, you're not alone. Because for many of us, hyper-independence isn't a choice. It's armor. Armor built from disappointment, from broken trust, from the realization that vulnerability doesn't always feel safe. Let's pause here. Let's honor how hard you've worked to carry your own world. That's no small feat. You've paid bills, held emotions, fixed what was broken, moved through heartbreak, built entire futures with your own hands. But strength, real strength, isn't never needing anyone. It's being brave enough to say, I can do it all. But I don't want to anymore. Because you shouldn't have to carry everything. You shouldn't have to be your own emotional support system, financial backup plan, crisis manager, therapist, and motivator. You are one person, and one person is allowed to be tired, to need a break, to want softness, to long for support without shame. But I get it. Asking for help, that feels dangerous. It feels like saying, I'm not enough. It feels like handing over control, and control is the only thing that's ever kept you safe. So instead, you keep it together. You say, I'm fine, even when you're not. You smile, even when your soul is screaming. You offer help, even when your cup is empty. Because somewhere deep inside, you believe that needing people makes you a burden. That vulnerability equals weakness. That softness is unsafe. But here's the truth. You weren't a burden. You were a child who needed support and didn't get it. Now you're an adult trying to protect yourself from feeling that kind of abandonment again. Hyper-independence is grief in disguise. Grief for the love you didn't receive. Grief for the safety you never felt. Grief for the moments you had to grow up too fast just to survive. So you built a fortress out of, I'm good. Out of, I'll handle it. Out of, don't worry about me. But that fortress, it's also a cage. A lonely, heavy, silent cage that no one knows you're trapped inside. Let's break the silence. Let's say what you've always wanted to say. I'm tired of being strong. I don't want to do everything alone. I want to be held, not just needed. I want to rest without guilt. I want to trust someone enough to fall apart. And let's make this clear. That's not weakness. That's human. You don't have to open all at once. You don't have to rip off the armor in a day. Start small. Let someone help with something minor. Ask a question you'd normally Google. Admit when your day was hard. Say, I could use some company. Bit by bit, you can show your nervous system that not everyone leaves, that not everyone disappoints, that some people hold you better than you've held yourself. And even if you don't have that person right now, you can start with yourself. Be your own softness, your own permission, your own reminder. I am allowed to need things. I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to be held. You were never meant to carry the world alone. You just had to for a while. But now it's safe to begin unlearning. Now it's safe to ask for something different. Now it's safe to hope. And hope is how healing begins. It feels strange, doesn't it? Peace. Stillness. Moments where nothing is going wrong, no one is mad, your phone is silent, and the world just feels quiet. You should feel calm, grateful even. But instead, you're suspicious, unsettled, waiting for something, anything to go wrong. Because deep down, you don't trust it. You don't trust peace. And that's not because something's wrong with you. It's because you've been trained to see safety as weakness. Let's go back. If you grew up in chaos, then chaos became your normal. If you were praised for being strong, but never comforted when you were soft, then strength became your currency. If your peace was often followed by pain, the calm before the storm, then your body learned relaxing is dangerous. So now even when things are okay, your nervous system is on edge. You scan the silence. You wait for the crash. You brace for the betrayal. Not because you're paranoid, but because experience taught you that comfort is temporary. This is called learned vigilance. It's what happens when your body remembers how fast things can go from calm to crisis. So now peace doesn't feel safe. It feels vulnerable, exposed, like you're letting your guard down and inviting disaster. That's not your fault. That's a survival response. Your body, your mind, your heart. They're doing what they were trained to do. Prepare for pain. But the problem is, you're not in that same danger anymore. And the preparation is robbing you of the present. It's subtle, but powerful. You finally find a healthy relationship and feel restless. You finish a big project and immediately look for what's next. You get a compliment and wonder what they really meant. You finally have time to rest and feel guilt crawling in your chest. Shouldn't I be doing something? This isn't laziness. It's not self-sabotage. It's your nervous system recoiling from stillness, because stillness used to mean you were off guard. And when you were off guard, bad things happened. So now, your survival instincts keep you moving, even when there's nowhere left to run. But here's the truth. You don't have to outrun peace anymore. You don't have to fill every quiet moment with noise. You don't have to brace for pain that isn't coming. You're allowed to unlearn the chaos. You're allowed to sit in safety and let it feel good. Not because you've earned it, not because you've suffered enough, but because you were always worthy of it, even when you were too busy surviving to notice. So, how do you retrain yourself to feel safe in peace? You go slow. You let quiet moments be just that, quiet. You breathe through the guilt of resting. You resist the urge to create problems where there are none. And when that voice whispers, "Something's wrong. This is too easy," you reply, "No. This is what okay feels like. I'm just not used to it yet." You show yourself over and over. That joy doesn't always lead to loss. That love doesn't always mean pain. That calm isn't always the calm before the storm. Sometimes it's just calm. Sometimes the quiet is a gift, not a setup. But it will take time to believe that. Because your body has years of evidence to the contrary, and unlearning chaos, that's hard. But it's also the most radical act of healing you'll ever do. So, if peace feels foreign, don't judge yourself. If you're tempted to run the moment things go well, pause. Ask your heart, are we actually in danger? Or are we just unfamiliar with ease? That single question can change everything. Because here's what you must know. Familiar doesn't mean safe, and safe doesn't mean weak. It takes strength to sit in peace without destroying it. It takes bravery to stop living in defense. It takes wisdom to know that calm isn't something to earn, it's something to return to. So, next time you feel the urge to stir the water, to poke the stillness, to chase the next fire, try this instead. Breathe, soften, let yourself be okay, and whisper, "This doesn't mean something bad is coming. This means I've finally landed somewhere good." Then rest there, even if it's just for a moment. Because you deserve peace. Not after you've fixed everything. Not after you've proven yourself. Not someday. Now. Before anyone else had the chance to walk away, you did it first. Not because you wanted to. Not because you didn't value yourself. But because somewhere along the way, your nervous system came to a painful conclusion. If I reject myself before they do, maybe it won't hurt as much. That's not insecurity. That's not low self-esteem. That's self-preservation. So, you learn to quiet your needs, to water down your opinions, to laugh at things that weren't funny, and stay silent about things that were devastating. You became agreeable, accommodating, easy to be around, and everyone praised you for it. You're so chill. You never cause drama. You're the easiest person I know. But deep down, you weren't chill. You were disappearing. Every time you swallowed your truth, a small part of you dimmed. Every time you said, "It's fine," when it wasn't, you left yourself behind. And you did it so often, so reflexively, that you started to believe that your real self, your messy, opinionated, emotional, bold self, was the problem. So, you buried her. Him. Them. You buried the parts of you that felt too big, too loud, too inconvenient. This wasn't weakness, this was survival training. You learned that authenticity came with a cost, that showing your full self meant risking being abandoned. So you became a master of prevention. Keep the peace, stay likable, don't be too much, and maybe people would stay. But here's the part no one tells you. Self-abandonment doesn't prevent abandonment, it guarantees it. Because every time you betray your own boundaries, you create a silent war inside yourself, a split. The version of you that performs, and the version of you that aches to be seen. And eventually, you don't know who you are without an audience. You start asking, what do they want me to be? Instead of, what do I need to be for myself? And in trying to please everyone, you lose the only relationship that truly matters, the one with yourself. But the beautiful, brutal truth is this. You were never the problem. Your truth was never too much. Your needs were never excessive. Your sensitivity was never weakness. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't hold the fullness of you. So, you shrunk to be held by hands that were never meant to carry you. But that doesn't mean you have to keep shrinking. Reclaiming yourself is hard work. It means telling the truth again. Even when your voice shakes, even when you're sure they'll leave. It means letting people disappoint you, instead of disappointing yourself to keep them. It means saying, this is what I need. This is what I feel. This is what I want. Even if it risks rejection. Because the only thing worse than being left by someone else is slowly leaving yourself behind, piece by piece, and calling it love. You don't need to abandon yourself to be loved. You don't need to be smaller, quieter, easier. You need to be real, messy, honest, whole. And when you show up like that, you give others the chance to love the real you, not the mask you've been wearing for years. So how do you begin? You start small. You pause before saying, yes. You breathe before saying, I'm fine. You write down what you really feel, even if you don't share it yet. And then you practice staying with yourself, not fixing, not judging, just staying. When you're sad, stay. When you're angry, stay. When you're joyful, stay. Because presence is the antidote to abandonment. This isn't a one-time epiphany. It's a daily return, a daily reminder. I'm allowed to belong to myself. Even if no one claps, even if no one notices, you notice, you clap, you stay. And that, my friend, is how you come home to yourself. There's a kind of quiet that heals you, and there's a kind of quiet that hollows you out. They look the same on the surface, same stillness, same calm exterior, same smile that says, everything's fine. But one is peace, the other is shutdown. And for many of us, especially those who have lived in survival mode for years, we mistake emotional numbness for peace. Here's how it happens. When your nervous system has been in high alert for too long, when the fight or flight has been running on loop, when every day feels like one more battle, your body does something brilliant. It shuts off the noise. Not because everything's okay, but because your system is fried. You can't keep running, so your body turns the volume down on everything. Pain, joy, love, anger, fear, wonder, it all goes quiet. And for a moment, that silence feels like a miracle. No more spirals, no more heart racing, no more overthinking. Just stillness. But it's not stillness. It's disconnection. It's the moment after the crash when your system powers down, and you convince yourself that peace has arrived. But this isn't peace. It's emotional hibernation. It's not healing, it's hiding. You know you're here when you can't remember the last time you cried or laughed. You're functioning, but everything feels flat. You say, I'm just tired, but sleep doesn't fix it. Good news barely moves you. Bad news barely touches you. You're not happy. You're not sad. You're just here, existing, moving through days like fog. And here's the painful twist. Because numbness feels better than chaos, you start calling it peace. At least I'm not anxious. At least I'm not breaking down. At least I'm not overwhelmed anymore. But not anxious isn't the same as regulated. Not overwhelmed isn't the same as whole. You're not free. You're just frozen. It's not your fault. When you were taught that emotions are dangerous, that expressing them leads to punishment, rejection, or shame, your body learned to protect you the only way it knew how. Feel less. Less joy, so you're not disappointed. Less anger, so you don't cause trouble. Less sadness, so you don't break. Less hope, so you're not let down. And now, years later, you're not breaking, but you're also not feeling. You've built a life where nothing touches you too deeply, and that includes joy. So what do? You start gently. You don't rip the numbness away. You warm yourself back to life. You begin with small moments of presence, listening to a song that makes you feel anything, watching a movie that makes you cry, even a little moving your body, not for fitness, but for feeling, writing down a single sentence that feels honest, sitting outside and noticing one beautiful thing. It won't come back all at once. It's not supposed to. Your emotional muscles are stiff. They need time, compassion, permission. And here's what I need you to know. You're not broken because you feel numb. You're not cold. You're not heartless. You're not too far gone. You're just a human whose system did its best to keep you from drowning. And now that the waves have settled, you're safe enough to start feeling again. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it might mean crying out of nowhere, feeling grief that's been waiting for years, noticing joy that makes you feel guilty, letting hope back in and being scared of it. But you are strong enough for that. You've survived pain. Now you get to survive feeling again. This is the part of healing no one talks about. The part where you go from numb to alive. The part where colors come back, where food tastes better, where music hits deeper, where touch feels electric, where laughter feels like a breakthrough. Not all at once, not every day, But little by little, your body learns that feeling is not failure, it's your superpower. So, if you're in the numbness now, be patient. Don't judge yourself. Don't rush the thawing. Don't compare your healing to anyone else's. Just stay here, gentle, open, brave, and whisper to yourself, even if you don't believe it yet, I'm allowed to feel again. Even if it's messy, even if it hurts, even if I've forgotten how. Because real peace isn't the absence of feeling, it's the presence of your full self. And you, my friend, deserve to come back to life. You sit on the couch, staring at the to-do list. It's not long, it's not complicated, you've done harder things before. And yet, you can't move. You keep scrolling, keep telling yourself, I just need to get up. Just one thing. What's wrong with me? The guilt creeps in. The self-blame follows. But let's pause right here. Because what you're calling laziness, what you're labeling as unmotivated or undisciplined or wasting time, might actually be something else entirely. You're not lazy. You're grieving the energy you used to have. Grieving the version of you who could push through anything. Grieving the version of you who ran on fumes. Grieving the version of you who got it all done, even when it was killing you. You miss that energy, don't you? Not because it was sustainable, but because it was familiar. Because in survival mode, you didn't have the luxury of rest. You didn't have the option of slowing down. You didn't stop to ask, am I okay? You just moved, because if you didn't, everything might fall apart. And now that your body has finally slowed down, now that the crisis has passed, you feel off. Not because something's wrong with you, but because you've never known how to exist without urgency. You're not tired because you've done too little. You're tired because your body is finally processing what it never had time to feel before. You're tired because you ran on adrenaline for years, and now the adrenaline is gone. This is the hangover of high-functioning survival. You spent so long being on that now even rest feels like failure. Even quiet feels like stagnation. Even slow progress feels like no progress at all. But it's not. It's your body recalibrating, your soul catching up, your nervous system learning that rest doesn't mean danger, and that takes time. Of course you miss that old energy. It made you feel strong, capable, in control. But here's the truth you may not want to hear. That energy wasn't powered by wellness. It was powered by fear. Fear of falling behind. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of what would happen if you stopped. It was productivity as a defense mechanism. You weren't thriving. You were coping with momentum. Now, you're doing something much harder. You're sitting in the stillness. You're waking up in a body that no longer wants to hustle. You're learning how to feel instead of fix. You're learning how to rest without guilt. That's not weakness. That's healing. So when the shame creeps in, when you call yourself lazy or broken or behind, pause, take a breath, put your hand on your chest, and whisper, I'm not lazy, I'm recovering. I'm not behind, I'm rebuilding. I'm not less, I'm just learning a new way to be. Because who you were in survival mode was never meant to be permanent, and the energy you miss was never meant to last forever. This new energy might look different. It might come in waves. It might be quieter. It might feel inconsistent. It might not let you cross off 20 things a day. But it will be honest. It will be yours. And it will be rooted in something real. Not fear, not urgency, but choice. So, what does this look like in practice? You rest even when the house isn't perfectly clean. You choose to do less and call it success. You say no more often and let the guilt pass. You nap in the middle of the day and remind yourself, this isn't laziness, this is repair. You watch your body slow down, and instead of shaming it, you thank it. Because after everything you've been through, your body deserves to move at the pace of healing, and so do you. One day your energy will return, but it won't look like it used to. It won't come from panic or fear, it will come from alignment, from purpose, from peace. And when it does, you'll look back at this chapter not with shame, but with pride. This is when I finally stopped running on empty. This is when I learned to rest. This is when I reclaim my energy as something sacred. You're not falling apart. You're falling into something softer, more sustainable, more you. You've read the books, you've listened to the podcasts, you've journaled, analyzed, dissected every pattern. You've mapped out the trauma, You've even diagrammed your childhood on a whiteboard. You know the why behind everything you do. You can name the wound, you understand the trigger, you've memorized the psychology. But here's the gut punch truth. Understanding safety is not the same as feeling safe. You can know you're not in danger and still feel unsafe in your body. You can know they're not going to abandon you and still brace for it anyway. You can know that rest is allowed and still feel guilty every time you slow down. Because your mind is brilliant, but your body keeps the score. You can't overthink your way into healing. You can't intellectualize your way into softness. You can't logic your way out of fear that was born in your nervous system. And I know that's frustrating, because thinking feels like control. Analyzing gives you the illusion of progress. If you can just figure it out, you'll finally feel okay. But that's not how it works. Healing is not a spreadsheet. It's not a concept you get. It's not a riddle to solve. It's a felt experience. And that part happens below the brain. Here's the truth most people don't talk about. You learn to feel unsafe through experience. And you can only learn to feel safe again through new experience. Being with people who don't hurt you when you're vulnerable. Taking a breath and letting your shoulders drop. Resting and letting it feel good. Crying and letting yourself be seen. Saying, I'm scared, and being met with care. Your system doesn't need more data. It needs evidence, not in your thoughts, but in your sensations. So, what do? You start where safety actually lives, in your body. You stop treating your body like a brain taxi, and you start treating it like a living, breathing, beautifully complex compass. When it tightens, notice. When it softens, trust. When it flinches, pause. When it expands, follow. Because your body speaks a language your brain forgot how to hear. You were never too sensitive. You were highly tuned. Your system adapted to pick up the slightest shift in energy, the tiniest change in tone. You learned to scan for danger so you wouldn't be surprised by it. That wasn't dysfunction. That was brilliance. But now you're safe enough to unlearn it, slowly, gently, not through logic, but through living. That means doing less fixing and more feeling, less researching, more reconnecting, less explaining, more experiencing. Try this. Before solving a problem, ask, where do I feel this in my body? Before judging an emotion, breathe and let it exist for 90 seconds. Before rationalizing a fear, say, it makes sense I feel this way, to get over it. Ask, what do I need to feel safe right now? Not, what do I need to understand? But, what do I need to feel safe? Safety isn't found in a paragraph. It's found in the pause before reacting. In the exhale you didn't realize you were holding. In the moment you let the tension drop from your jaw. In the brave act of staying present with a feeling you used to run from. Your healing is not a mental exercise. It's a physical remembering. A remembering that not everyone leaves. Not every silence is rejection. Not every mistake means punishment. Not every need makes you unlovable. So stop trying to outsmart your nervous system. Instead, befriend it. Let it know, again and again, we're not in danger anymore. We don't have to run right now. We're allowed to feel good. It's okay to rest. It's safe to be soft. And every time you come back to that, not just say it, but feel it. You're building a bridge between your brilliant mind and your beautiful, wise, protective body. That's the work now. Not just to think clearly, but to feel deeply. Not just to learn the theory, but to embody the truth. You don't have to understand every scar before you can start softening. You don't have to master emotional safety before you begin letting peace in. You just have to trust that your body is worthy of safety, and that you don't have to earn it. You've heard it before. Maybe not in words, but in reactions, in facial expressions. In the way the conversation suddenly got quiet, in the text that never got a reply. You shared a piece of your heart, a real feeling, a vulnerable truth, something messy or deep or tender. And instead of being met with curiosity or care, you were met with distance. You're too intense. You overthink everything. Why can't you just let it go? So naturally you began to wonder, am I too much? Let me be very clear. No, you're not. You were never too much. You were simply too deep for people who were only prepared to meet you at the surface. Your emotional depth isn't a flaw. It's a reflection of your capacity to feel, to connect, to understand. You've lived through too much to pretend life is shallow. You've seen the undercurrents of people's behavior. You've read between the lines, felt what wasn't said, and picked up on the energy in the room before anyone else noticed it shifted. That's not too much. That's wisdom. That's sensitivity forged in survival. That's the result of living a life where ignoring the details could cost you safety. You feel things deeply because you had to. You learn to scan, to interpret, to stay alert. And now, people who've only ever known calm seas don't understand the waves inside you. But that doesn't mean you should shrink, or soften your voice, or flatten your feelings, or put your soul in a box just to make someone else comfortable. Because here's what happens when you do that. You don't just lose others, you lose yourself. You stop sharing, you filter your words, you doubt your own intensity, you second-guess your instincts, and eventually, you become a watered-down version of the vibrant, powerful, passionate person you are. But you were never meant to be light enough to float. You were meant to anchor, to root, to hold space, to feel it all and still keep going. That's not too much. That's strength. Let's say this together. I am not too much. My feelings are not inconvenient. My depth is not a liability. My intensity is not a problem to fix. It's a gift to protect. If someone can't meet you there, in the truth, in the complexity, in the realness, it doesn't mean you're too much. It means they were never prepared for someone who's done the work you've done. Your depth will scare people who've never faced their own. Your truth will rattle those who live behind masks. Your clarity will intimidate those still stuck in denial. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them look away. It's not your job to be easy to digest. It's your job to be true. And the ones who are ready, the ones who are also deep, also tender, also healing, they will find you. They will say, "Thank you for saying what I didn't know how to say. Thank you for going there. Thank you for not making yourself smaller." Those are your people, and you won't find them if you keep hiding your soul under politeness. So speak. Speak the truth that catches in your throat. Speak the story that's still raw. Speak the anger that deserves air. Speak the joy that scares you. Speak the needs you were taught to silence. Because every time you do, you reclaim a piece of yourself that the world tried to shame out of you. You are allowed to feel deeply. You are allowed to take up emotional space. You are allowed to care more, to want more, to need more. You are allowed to say, "I don't do small talk. I don't do shallow love. I'm here for something real." And you don't have to explain why. Because the right people, they won't flinch at your depth. They'll dive into it, not to rescue you, but to swim beside you. They'll ask deeper questions. They'll make eye contact that holds you. They'll listen past the words. They'll meet you where others used to flee. And with them, you'll realize, I was never too much. I just needed more space than most were offering. So the next time you feel yourself shrinking, remember this. The ocean doesn't apologize for its depth. The stars don't dim themselves for comfort. And you don't have to be light to be lovable. You just have to be you. You carry it all. The weight, the stress, the responsibilities, the chaos, the pain. And when people ask if you need help, you smile tight, polite, tired, and say, "I've got it." Of course you've got it. You always have. You've trained your nervous system to believe that accepting help is more dangerous than drowning. But let's get real for a second. Hyperindependence isn't a personality trait. It's a wound. It's the reflex you developed when being vulnerable backfired, when asking for help was met with disappointment, judgment, or flat-out abandonment, when you reached out and no one reached back. So your system learned, never again. You don't reject help because you're arrogant. You reject it because experience taught you that letting people in means giving them the power to let you down. That's not pride. That's protection. You became hyper-independent not because it's strong, but because it was safe. Safer to trust yourself. Safer to keep it all in-house. Safer to be the one who never asks for anything. Because that way, you're never a burden, right? But here's the catch. That armor, it gets heavy. And no one was meant to carry life alone. Sure, you get things done. You make it look easy. You're competent, capable, resilient. But underneath that, you're tired. You're craving softness, safety, support, a shoulder, a space to let go. But the voice in your head still whispers, "Don't rely on anyone. You'll just get hurt." And so, the cycle repeats. Here's the truth. You can be independent and still deserve support. You can be strong and still need help. You can be capable and still crave rest. You can be smart and still not have all the answers. Letting someone carry something with you doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. So, what does healing look like? It looks like letting someone open the door, letting someone text, "You good?" and replying honestly. Letting someone see the parts of you that aren't polished, prepared, or perfect. It means saying, "Actually, I could use some help. I don't have it all figured out. This is heavy, and I don't want to hold it alone." And yes, you'll want to take it back immediately. You'll feel exposed, uncomfortable, unworthy, but you stay. You let the moment stretch. And in that space, you teach your nervous system something radical. It's safe to receive. This isn't about depending on everyone. It's about learning that not everyone will drop you. It's about rebuilding trust with people who earn it, the ones who show up, not perfectly, but consistently, the ones who carry you without needing to be rescued. You deserve that kind of support, not because you've earned it, not because you've proven yourself, but because being human means needing other humans. You deserve to be held, not just in your strengths, but in your softness. Hyper-independence helped you survive. Don't shame it. Thank it. Thank you for protecting me when there was no one else. But now, you don't have to go it alone anymore. You can choose something new. Not codependence, not helplessness, but interdependence. The sacred space where strength meets softness, where giving and receiving aren't in competition, where your needs are not a liability, they're a doorway to connection. So take a breath, loosen the grip, just a little, and whisper to yourself, "I'm allowed to be supported. I'm allowed to be tired. I don't have to do it all alone." Because strength isn't in how much you carry. It's in knowing when it's time to share the load. You finally have a moment to yourself. The house is quiet. Your schedule is clear. There's nothing urgent demanding your attention. And yet, you can't relax. You try. You sit on the couch, put on a comfort show, maybe even light a candle. You tell yourself, just breathe, just enjoy this, you deserve it. But your mind won't stop spinning. Your shoulders stay tight. Your jaw is still clenched. Every muscle in your body feels like it's waiting for something. And underneath it all is that creeping feeling. I should be doing something. Here's what you need to know. This isn't because you're bad at relaxing. It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're too type A. It's because somewhere along the line, your nervous system learned that rest isn't safe. Let's get real. If you grew up in chaos, in unpredictability, in environments where being off guard meant being vulnerable, then your body adapted. You learned that stillness was dangerous, that the moment you relaxed, something bad would happen. Someone would yell, the door would slam, the mood would change, the rules would shift without warning. So you stayed alert, always watching, always bracing, always scanning for the next disruption. Even now, even if your life is calmer, even if the threat is gone, your body remembers. Your nervous system still thinks, if I rest, I won't be ready. If I let go, I'll get hurt. So every time you try to unwind, your survival brain kicks in and says, nope, not safe, stay sharp. That's not your fault. It's not a mindset issue. It's not about trying harder to chill. It's a pattern, a learned response, a form of protection that your body hasn't realized it can release. Yet, here's what most people don't understand about trauma. It doesn't just live in memories, it lives in your nervous system. You're not just remembering unsafe moments, you're reliving them on a biological level, and healing isn't about erasing those memories. It's about teaching your body a new truth. We're not in danger anymore. It's okay to rest now. But that learning doesn't happen through words alone. It happens through experience, tiny moments of safety, repeated over time, until your body starts to believe it. That means starting small. Try this. Rest in 30-second increments. Put your phone down. Close your eyes. Just breathe. Do one thing slowly on purpose. Make tea without rushing. Feel each step. Sit with discomfort without judging it. When you can't relax, don't force it. Just notice. Say to yourself, out loud, I am safe. It's okay to rest. You're not trying to be perfect at relaxing. You're trying to rebuild trust with your body. And it takes time. Because for years, your body thought hypervigilance was love. That tension was responsibility. That always being on meant you were good, valuable, needed. Letting go of that conditioning isn't lazy. It's revolutionary. So, If you're the kind of person who can't sit still without feeling guilty, has to earn rest, uses productivity to self-soothe, feels more anxious on vacation than at work, thinks of relaxing as doing nothing, and doing nothing were worthless, then this is your reminder. Rest isn't a reward, it's a right. You don't have to prove your exhaustion to deserve restoration. You don't have to crash before you get to pause. You don't have to be useful to be worthy of peace. You don't heal from survival mode by pushing harder. You heal by gently showing your body that safety can exist without tension. That being still doesn't mean being in danger. That soft can also be strong. So when your body resists rest, don't shame it. Thank it. Thank you for trying to protect me. I see you, but it's okay now. We're safe. Then take a breath. Unclench your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Let your feet feel the ground. It won't feel natural at first. That's okay. This is how relearning begins, one safe moment at a time. You cry during arguments and feel embarrassed about it. You shut down when conversations get too intense. You feel things too deeply, or not at all. You overreact, then shame yourself. You underreact, then question why you're numb. And somewhere along the way, you started believing the voice that whispered, "You're just emotionally immature." But what if that's not true? What if you're not broken, just untaught? Let's go back. Think about your earliest experiences with emotion. Did anyone sit you down and explain what anger is, what sadness means, what fear feels like, and why it shows up? Did anyone teach you how to process hurt without punishing yourself or others? Or were you taught to silence, suppress, and shrink? Don't cry. Calm down. You're too sensitive. That's not a big deal. These messages weren't lessons in emotional intelligence. They were shutdowns. And over time, they turned into your inner voice. Now you can't tell the difference between feeling your feelings and failing at life. Here's the truth. You're not emotionally immature. You were emotionally neglected. Not necessarily in a harsh or cruel way. Sometimes emotional neglect is silent, unintentional, passed down like a family heirloom. Maybe the people who raised you never had space for emotions, not yours, not theirs. So you learned to keep everything inside. To be easy, to be strong, to not need too much. You didn't learn how to feel. You learned how to perform okayness. And now you're an adult who feels too much in private and not enough in public. You want to connect deeply, but your emotional muscles are out of practice. You either flood or freeze. You either overshare or shut down completely. You either scream or go silent. And afterward, you hate yourself for it. But don't. Please don't. Because these reactions aren't proof of immaturity. They're evidence that your emotional nervous system was never given the tools it needed. So, what does emotional maturity actually look like? Here's a hint. It's not about never getting upset. It's not about staying calm 100% of the time. It's not about being perfectly composed. It's about recognizing your feelings without judging them, allowing discomfort without abandoning yourself, knowing when to pause before reacting, repairing after rupture, communicating clearly, even when it's hard. These are skills, learnable skills, not traits you're either born with or not. And if you weren't taught these things as a child, it's not too late to learn them now. Start small. Name what you feel. This is anger. Ask what it needs. What is this emotion trying to tell me? Let it move through you, not in shame, but in safety. Practice saying, "This is new for me. I'm still learning." Because emotional maturity isn't perfection, it's practice. And yes, there will be mess, tears in public, shaky conversations, apologies, relapses, misunderstandings. But every one of those moments isn't a step back. It's a representative, a repetition. Like working a new muscle, it burns at first. Then it builds strength, then it becomes natural. So please stop calling yourself immature for having reactions you were never taught to manage. You're not behind, you're healing, you're not dramatic, you're discovering what safety feels like. You're not weak, you're learning to stay with yourself, even when it's hard. And that is strength of the highest form. You don't have to get it right all the time. You just have to stay in the process. You're not too late. You're right on time. You've been told your whole life that you feel too much. You're so emotional. You take things too personally. You need to toughen up. Don't be so dramatic. And eventually, you believed them. You believed that your sensitivity was the reason you always felt out of place, that your softness made you weak, that your ability to feel everything deeply, painfully, vividly, was something to fix or hide or apologize for. So, you tried to shrink it. You became the master of detachment, of biting your tongue, of telling yourself it's not that big of a deal, of convincing yourself that if you just hardened a little more, life would stop hurting so much. But no matter how many layers you built between you and the world, you still felt it all. The tone in someone's voice, the energy shift in a room, the sadness behind someone's smile, the truth in someone's silence, the grief in your own chest, even when everything looks fine. You couldn't not feel it. And now you've reached a crossroads. You can keep treating your sensitivity like a curse to overcome. Or you can finally recognize it for what it really is. Your sensitivity is a compass, not a flaw, a guide. Because, let's be honest, you're the one who senses what others ignore. You're the one who notices when someone's spirit is dimming. You're the one who hears the pain between the words. You're the one who reads the emotional room without needing anyone to speak. That's not a weakness. That's a superpower. You don't just observe life, you absorb it. You don't just hear people, you understand them. You don't just love, you feel it in your bones. Yes, it can be exhausting. Yes, it can be overwhelming. Yes, there are moments when you wish you could turn it off. But would you really want to? Would you really trade your ability to feel beauty, connection, depth, meaning, just to be more normal? Would you really give up your ability to walk through the world awake, just to be numb? Because that's what most people mistake for strength, numbness. But you're alive. You feel, you care, you ache, you love. That's not too much, that's everything. Here's what your sensitivity means. You're deeply connected to your intuition. You have a radar for authenticity. You notice what others miss. You're moved by stories, by music, by kindness, by grief. You care so deeply that it sometimes hurts. And yes, that means you bruise easily. But it also means you love fiercely. You heal wholeheartedly. You create beauty from pain. You bring light into places where most people are still fumbling in the dark. Your sensitivity doesn't need to be tamed, it needs to be trusted. Because it's not just about emotions, it's about wisdom. Your emotions are data, signals, messages from your body and your soul, that lump in your throat. Something's not being said, that tightness in your chest. A boundary is being crossed, that ache in your gut. Something is out of alignment. Your body is talking to you. Sensitivity is the volume knob. So, what if, instead of turning it down, you turned toward it? What if, instead of resisting your sensitivity, you followed it? Let it lead you toward truth. Let it guide you toward what feels safe, what feels right, what feels like home. Let it show you the people who deserve to be in your inner world, the ones who won't tell you to calm down, but instead will say, tell me more. I feel it too. You're safe here, because those people exist, but you won't find them if you're still trying to become someone you're not. So, here's your permission slip. You don't have to be less. You don't have to harden. You don't have to apologize for your tears. You don't have to dilute your fire. You don't have to call your intuition overthinking. You don't have to shrink your voice to fit in rooms that weren't built for your spirit. You were born to feel, and the world desperately needs more of that. The truth is, you were never too sensitive. You were just surrounded by people who weren't sensitive enough to hold what you carry. That's not your fault, and it's not your burden. It's your gift. So stop running from it and start walking with it, because your sensitivity, it's not a liability, it's your compass, and it's leading you back to yourself.